Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 213, Tiny. This episode aired on February 10th, 2013. It was written by Christine Boylan and Kalinda Vasquez and was directed by Guy Ferland. Before we actually get into our synopsis and getting into everything else, I do want to say we are recording this in April because that's just how our schedule is working, but based off of the schedule of when this will be out, you should be listening to this on July 15th if you're listening on launch day. And that is 1 year and 1 day after the SAG-AFTRA strike officially started in 2013 and 2023. And it is 1 year and 2 days after we decided to start Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. Which is just
a long time coming,
fun.
Apparently.
It's been a while, so it's not our official year of posting, but it's a year of this podcast existing, which is weird. And I'm sure when we get to recording that week, we'll also be like, "Hey, we're recording," but also,
yeah,
we decided a year ago from today that you won't hear this episode until September,
because that was what was our first recording date?
Our first recording date that I can check
because our first posting dates that's easy to find.
But yeah, our first posting date, that was sometime in November.
But I will say, doing this for as long as we have feels interesting. Because, it doesn't feel that long, but it also feels like a while.
Right? Well, because also, to think about it, our first recording date, we didn't wait very long. So, I'm going to guess it was the end of July. We kind of just started. July 17th was our first recording day. We recorded our trailer and our first 2 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're within the same week. This will be out. So the day of the Bob's episode that we're going to record next, that will be out 1 year exactly from our first recording date.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo!
It's a good time. Go us. We did it.
Go us. We did. For context, we're recording this April 29th.
Yeah, so we were recording this in April. So we like having a buffer. It's good for our sanity.
Oh yes.
We have some screenshots of us talking about starting the podcast and what it'll be called, what it'll be about, which will most likely be available to our patrons. So feel free to join that with the link in our show notes. And now let's get into the synopsis for the episode, Tiny. In the Enchanted Forest. After years of being teased by his brothers, Anton the Giant is ready to see the human world he's so enamored with for himself. When news of a giant traipsing around the countryside hits the palace, George sends James and his current dalliance, Jack, to seek out the giant. They pretend to be Anton's friends and offer him a magic mushroom so that he can fit in with human society. When they convince him to help James's kingdom by getting treasure from his home, they follow him up the beanstalk in an attempt to steal the magic beans. In the battle, all of Anton's family perish, and he's tasked with raising the bean fields to protect them, and James runs away after Jack is slain in battle. And in Storybrooke, Emma takes Henry with her on Mr. Gold's errand to find his son to protect Henry from Cora. While they're gone, Snow and Charming come across something Cora brought over from the Enchanted Forest, a shrunken Anton. He mistakes Charming for his brother and goes on a rampage that is aided by Regina giving him another magic mushroom that will temporarily make him bigger. After Charming surrenders, Anton tries to kill him, but ends up falling down a pit of his own creation that Snow and Charming help him out of. He reveals that he has a clipping from the beanstalk, and together he and the dwarves begin to till the fields, so that they can begin to grow more magic beans. I have a little rant I would like to start us with.
Oh, please.
So I'm aware this is putting real world logic on a fantasy TV show. I'm very aware. Gold, Emma, and Henry drive to Boston and then fly to New York City from Maine. I did the math. Mm-hmm. Of flying, driving from Storybrooke to Logan, which is in Boston, and then flying from there to New York City, versus just driving to New York City. We're going to see a map very, very briefly, I believe, in the season 2 finale, or at least in one of the last 2 episodes of the season. And it's going to put Storybrooke just north of Portland, so I'm using Portland as our main identifier here. So to drive from Portland, Maine, to Logan is about an hour and 46 minutes when I checked last night, which is with very minimal traffic. Mm-hmm. Figure they got to the airport early because they are good passengers. So we're going to tack on another 2 hours for that. and the flight direct, as they say in the overhead, is 42 minutes, which, to be fair, according to Google currently, the real flight would be about an hour and 20, but they say 42. We're going to go with 42. They don't state what airport they're flying into, but New York City has multiple, so I just picked JFK because that made sense. And then a taxi ride from JFK to Neil's neighborhood, which, based off of what I know about where they filmed the exteriors, I know exactly which neighborhood he's in, so I picked a landmark in that neighborhood. That drive, again, with normal traffic, is about 33 minutes, roughly, for a total travel time of 5 hours. Guess how long it takes to drive from Portland to Lower Manhattan?
How long?
5 hours. They saved no time.
I actually did write, like, my last note is they're flying 42 minutes.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, commuter flights, that's apparently not the shortest flight, domestic in the United States. The shortest, I believe, according to a TikTok I saw, so take it with a grain of salt, is from Charlotte to Greenville. It's about 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. It's about, so we also have flights like that from Augusta to Atlanta. It takes 2 hours to drive from Augusta to Atlanta. We have flights from Augusta to Atlanta.
Why not? But
I've been on one. I think it took a half hour.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
Like, they saved, and I did all that with minimal traffic. If they're driving during the day, there's going to be more traffic.
But if you get an early start, like...
Either way, all the traffic kind of equals out at the end of the day versus from driving, because they're driving into a major metropolitan area versus driving to a different major metropolitan area. And also, I'm also figuring how they would be driving. They'd be driving against most of the traffic, would be my guess. So they saved no time and spent so much money.
I would say that would be so much money. 3 plane tickets, Cinnabon, inside of an airport. Like, oh my goodness.
It's too much. Just, sorry, I had to get that out there because I paused after like 5 minutes, maybe less than 5 minutes. As soon as he mentions the flight, I'm like, wait, hang on, let me see how long it would actually take. And it's
the 42 minutes really got me, and I'm like, well, as soon as they said your flight of 42 minutes, I went, what the no? Why are we doing this?
My guess is the 42 minutes is probably a joke because their episodes are 42 minutes long. Is probably my guess.
Well, also, I guess it was their way to show like what happens if he takes the shawl off.
Yeah, that's obviously the purpose of this, is showing if the shawl comes off in the Land Without Magic, what happens. That's why they put him on a plane. But I'm like, but just like a normal person wouldn't go through these extents just to get down there. You just drive. But the actual flight's about an hour and a half.
I think that was like one of the things I was most annoyed about in this episode was like, why are we flying? But
it serves a purpose of showing what happens when he takes his shawl off, which I'm okay with it. Like the kind of his memories are almost attached to the shawl because like we don't know for sure if he lost his memories in those few moments where he didn't have it on. We just know that once it was back on, he was fine. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm okay with how that magic works. It is what it is. It's dramatic, not the most descriptive in the world, and that's very on par for the Once Upon a Time writers. They're very descriptive.
Oh yeah. And I did enjoy this episode, but I had parts where I'm just like, I'm annoyed. Mm-hmm. Why? Because like starting off, like I get why Henry's coming, but like I see that Regina is lying, but then straight into like Regina is Henry's mother. I will die on this hill. Can we stop?
Yeah, their line of, I don't think Emma has to run anything by you. No, legally, I'm pretty sure legally, I mean, if they weren't in a fairy tale center of the country, legally, Emma taking Henry across state lines is kidnapping.
It is, because she's like, the whole adoption process and how that works, like she gave up her rights over Henry. Just because they live in Fantasyland a little bit doesn't mean she can just take Henry.
I can't wait for the legality of who is really his parent to get so murky in season 3.
No.
There's gonna be, I can't tell you why, but in season 3 it really does get very murky as to who's legally his mother anymore.
Oh my god.
Like for good reason, but still it's like, okay.
That gusting wind line.
Yeah, she really like right now the wind is gusting towards us. She really ate that line.
She really did. I was like, okay, this is a choice. We just brought the giant with us.
We did.
And I did get very upset. I'm like, you should use what you work so hard on. Why are you going to grow beans and then just be like, okay, that's our thing. We grow beans. You grow
It's
magic beans and it's the labor. Like, what is with people in this world?
They needed a reason as to why magic beans are scarce. And it's because no one knows the giants are still there and they still grow them. So I don't think they still have them anymore, which I get it. But yeah, I'm like, why grow them at all is my question.
Okay, but with that, how are we hiding a secret beanstalk that a giant can climb?
Magic.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, this huge beanstalk that they were able to find.
Because magic.
I'm just... Okay. I did love the line, so Cora used magic to make him travel-sized.
Yeah.
I liked that. Also, why does Hook have a key?
It was the key for the pucks.
But why does he have it and not Cora?
Because at this point, I'm willing to assume that anything we see was already plotted by Cora.
That's valid. Dang it.
It's completely plausible that at this point, him taking the Charmings on the boat to check out the weapon, all of this is planned by Cora.
Yeah, Cora, I mean, I want to see what Cora's planning. I want to see how all this comes to, like, fruition. But, like, at the same time, I'm definitely more interested in what's going to happen when we all discover, you know, Rumpel's son and who he is and all the relations. Like, I'm more excited for that than I am to see what Cora's doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have two big reveals in the span of 2 episodes, really, because we're going to have, next week is going to be the reveal of Gold Sun, and how all that goes. And it's a great reveal scene and comes with an even better blooper, in my opinion. It's just fucking funny. And then the week after, and The Queen is Dead, is where we get to hear a little bit more of Cora's plan, and it's just... It all comes together, like, Cora's plan all comes together so quickly, and then all comes to fruition also. Like, it could feel rushed if I didn't have my same stance, but I feel like even in the episodes Cora's not in, she's clearly a looming presence. Like, all of this is her plan at the end of the day. All of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, you'll learn basically what her plans are right before they are completed.
And there's definitely a lot going on, too, because then you add in that Mendel's there, and now he's talking to Belle, and it's all this, like, you get so much happening all at once. So there's plenty of things that I'm like, okay, I can't see what happens with each of these things. Definitely most excited for the whole Bayfire thing. Like, I think that's going to be the most fun out of all of them.
Yeah, seeing Bay is gonna... I'll admit, it was a big reveal, even though I feel like a lot of people didn't see it coming. Obviously, you figured it out. Like, it's the logical thing at the end of the day. Their story is set up properly if we can figure it out, and they've put in these clues of the entire time. Like, once you find out that Bay is in the land without magic, and there's this random man we've never really seen before in a bunch of the episodes, like, the natural conclusion is that he's Bay. Like, that's just... That makes perfect sense.
I don't know how I feel about Josh Dallas as David. And that can what?
What, Ed just says his name just being David?
No, him as, like, the original, his twin. Josh Dallas as his twin. James. Oh, my God. See, and that goes into the whole line of, like, what the hell is your name? Like, that whole situation. I still can't keep it straight.
No, I wrote that down because this is the thing that they did that no one knew what they were doing. No one knew this is what they were explaining. It was so quickly done. Like, I get it, the urgency. I get, and it ends with Lyra going, I'm just gonna call you whatever I damn well please. That's perfectly fine. But so let me get this straight. You've got a twin brother? Yeah? His name is James, right? Well, your name is James. No, actually, it's not. It's Charming then? No, that's the nickname I gave him. Hey, hold on. What the hell is your name? David. Your cursed name? My real name. What, you're David James Charming? Is David like a middle name? No, it's my name. You know what? Whatever. I'm going to call you whatever I damn well please. Is that okay? Like, honestly, Leroy, same.
That's where I was with that. I was like, thank you, Leroy. Thank you for saying what all of us are thinking. This is why I love him.
He's the best. And, like, that's why I said, like, his name is David. I think in a flashback in season 4 we hear someone call him David, and it's like Shepherd era. I think, I don't know off the top of my head, I could check, I don't really feel like it though. We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there.
That would mean like going into the transcript and searching for it, and like searching by his name is not going to help because I'm just going to get all of his lines. So it's just not worth it. But
yeah,
it's just James is the prince, David is the shepherd, but it's the fact of David is also his curse name, which can be confusing.
It can be, but okay, so I can clarify now. I mean James. Josh Dallas as James, and just James's character is
I wrote down there's something mildly like unsettling about seeing him go into James mode. It's mildly unsettling.
It's mildly unsettling. I was kind of sitting here like, what is Lauren making me watch? I don't know how to feel about this.
Oh God. There's a moment with him as James. There's a moment. There's actually no. To be fair, he's David in that scene, but still James. He's pretending to be his brother.
Oh no.
In season 5, I can't tell you what it is. It won't make any sense.
No, it's
but
fine.
It is even more. It's even more unsettling than him pretending to be James.
Oh no.
I kind of want to give you a line out of context. It's going to make no fucking sense.
But it's James pretending to be David. I mean, no, David pretending to be James. God damn it.
It's David pretending to be James. I'm doing this solely for my moderators because every time I do this scene for them, my response is always, why do I keep putting this on the internet? Is mommy boring you, James?
Anyways.
That is... My statement remains, why do I keep putting this on the internet?
Well, it will live forever on this podcast now.
It will. I get to listen to this and edit it. Yay.
I'm so happy for you.
There's your clip.
I got really excited for the mushrooms from a far off land. I thought that was so awesome. But then the whole Jack thing.
I like Jack as a woman personally.
I want to know how Jack went to not Neverland, wrong place. Wonderland. There's so many lands. Anyways, how Jack went to Wonderland and killed the Jabberwocky, and I'm like, wait a minute, what?
It was confirmed, I think, by the writers that she does mean Wonderland, and I think that's a case of. My guess is she was portal jumping with someone similar to Jefferson. That's never confirmed. Because that kind of portal jumping is okay, and there's also mirrors, like looking glass mirrors that are portals to Wonderland. So, like, again, as I always say, portals are hard to come by unless the plot dictates otherwise. How Jack got to and from Wonderland, not necessary.
The plot dictates lots of portals at this point, though, I'm realizing.
Oh, it will never stop dictating portals.
It's so many
and portals. Yet we'll be told portal jumping is so hard. So hard, and yet it's happening at least 3 times a season.
Why is Hook able to walk around and do what he wants, and he's left alone?
Because they know that he's a pirate, and he truthfully is gonna align himself with whoever he thinks is gonna win. Like, there is that aspect to it.
But there's so obviously already a plan and like in motion, and it's Cora, and they're all like, "Oh, but Cora's so dangerous, but let's let her." Supposed lackey like walk around, and I'm just like, is everybody dumb? Is it just me?
Well, to be fair, they are idiots 1 and 2. So I mean, there's that.
There is that.
There's that aspect to it. Snow and Charming are forever taglined as idiots 1 and 2. So like,
right, I'm here for that.
Like, honestly, sometimes I'm just like, oh, you just see the best in people a little too much. Okay.
Yeah. But Hook. Back to Hook.
Back to Mr. Scruffy Pants.
I've been tied up in bed, not in a good way.
I wrote down when Charming pushes him up against like the mast or one of the poles, whatever. I am thinking unholy Captain Charming thoughts right now.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, right. That's another one where it's like the writers wrote in their friendship at that point, basically.
I love that so much. Mm-hmm. I had these moments with like the giants and the humans of like just smush them. They're tiny. Mm-hmm. And then I said, okay, harder to smush humans with poison pointy things because it is.
Yes.
And then I just got really excited that Tiny got an axe. So like good episode. Had some fun lines, some fun things going on.
Yeah.
Some dumb things going on as
some
well.
very dumb things.
Very dumb things. Like, but yeah, that's what I got for you.
Here you go. So I don't remember if I did Jorge Garcia's IMDb when we saw him during Tallahassee. I don't think I did. I didn't see it in the show notes.
I don't know.
So if I didn't, Jorge Garcia is Anton, our giant, Tiny. He's an American actor with 57 different acting credits. His most notable works would be Hawaii Five-0 and Lost. Is I think most people are going to know him from, and that's the case of Adam and Eddie were on Lost. They bring in a lot of their friends for either short stints or for longer, as we will see as the show goes on. That's with like Emily DeRobin. She was from Lost, and she's on the show until the end of time, basically. So some fun facts to get us started, beyond my rant of they should not have flown because that's a waste of time and money. At the very beginning, in the waiting room scene with Belle, she's watching Good Morning Storybrooke.
That was interesting.
There's a special feature from season 2 that was like a 12-minute long Good Morning Storybrooke. At some point, I'll send it to you because it's just chaotic. For those who do not know, Good Morning Storybrooke is a nod to Good Morning America.
Had a feeling.
Yeah, I just thought I'd point it out just in case. The actor who played Abraham, so it was Anton's brother that crushes the harp.
Yes.
He has actually been in the show 2 episodes before this. He was in 102. He was the ogre in the group of Dark Souls that Regina gathers to cast her curse. And he's a background actor in Desperate Souls. He's credited as Burly Man. So he's one of the background actors in The Village, basically.
Okay, then.
Yeah. For the scene where David surrenders to Anton and he jumps and causes the pit when he gets small again, the crew actually had to dig like a 6-foot deep hole. I'm guessing that's where the camera is situated when they're going up. So the massive cavern below him obviously is CGI. A lot of that with Anton holding on to the pipe is green screen. They did actually just dig a giant hole in some random empty lots in Steveston, which I find very funny. And there's a little bit of a oops or goof on whatever you want to call it. When they first show Anton dangling and they're about to lower the rope, the first shot, the rope is already behind him.
Oh goodness!
Let that one in. The book that Ruby gives to Belle, The Mysterious Island by Jules Verne, has also already been seen in the show. In season 1, Mary Margaret is reading it, and I think 7:15 a.m.
Oh,
in one of the scenes with her and David in Granny's, she's seen reading that exact. I'm pretty sure it's either that one. It's either 7:15 a.m. or it's in Skin Deep. I'm not sure which one.
Okay, interesting if it was Skin Deep.
Yeah. They had to actually make a tiny sword. Like, that's not CGI. Like, for when he stabs Jack, they had to make a tiny sword for him to hold, which I just find really funny.
That is hilarious, actually.
I don't know why.
I want a tiny sword.
I want a tiny sword, too. I have a dark one dagger necklace that my best friend got me years ago. Aww. I don't know where I put it. I've been looking for it for months.
Oh.
And this is my best friend at this point now, over 20 years. And my friend group had a Secret Santa exchange for years and years. And one year she got me and she ordered this necklace and it didn't arrive in time. And because I am the friend that she could do this for, instead of just giving me like nothing or just saying like, oh, by the way, your gift is on its way, she got like a box, a regular box, and she put a piece of paper in it and she wrapped that. And the piece of paper had I think it was a limerick. It was like a series of limericks explaining the journey of her deciding to buy the necklace, ending with it'll be here next week.
Oh, wow.
But like, it's because like we are that close. Like my friend group had like a bunch of different people that like some were closer than others. She's like, oh, I can do this. She won't care.
It's actually a fun little memory that if you look at it that way.
It is. And our very last fun fact, the magic mushroom that Anton had to eat was actually made out of marzipan.
That actually sounds really good.
I think that sounds tasty.
It does sound tasty.
So I have mixed feelings about this episode. It sets up so much while simultaneously nothing happens.
Yeah, I was actually like, I literally watched the whole thing. I was like, all right, that was interesting parts. And then nothing happened.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know, like, there's something to where, like, the fact that James's kingdom is broke, we'll see in an episode later in the season why they're suddenly very broke. But it's like, it's that thing of like throughout the season they're dropping these things here and there. Like, this thing will happen, which will cause their kingdom to go broke, which will cause them need to side with Midas, which turns into James dying and Charming taking over, which then turns into everything going as it's supposed to. And it's so interesting knowing the whole context of it. But in this episode, it's just, there's just nothing. It's a lot of character. It's character backstory. You still see kind of the Snow and Charming thing of like whether or not like they should go back to the Enchanted Forest or not isn't really resolved. And I'll admit, I do find it odd that David is so willing to go back to Enchanted Forest without Emma.
Yeah, it kind of is confusing. I don't know if it's because, oh, well, she's an adult. It's been like this the whole time anyways for them. Maybe he has a better understanding of like how she may see it. Because we don't know if Emma's going to want to go, like, at this point, really. I mean, her whole life has been in the magic and with no magic or...
Exactly. Like, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that she'd want to go back with them. And I don't... Because he never seems to come at it from a place of having faith that she will want to come with them. Because especially with the conversation at the end, he's pretty clear about it that even if Emma doesn't want to come with them, he wants to go back. Like, I just don't understand that.
Especially with, they're not actually being as many portals as they show us.
Yeah.
It's like, not like he can go back forth and visit with her. Like, it's just not how that works. So it'll be interesting. And I understand, Snow, she doesn't want to leave again. Like, that makes complete sense.
No, she's like what we saw at the beginning of this season. But that they chose to leave in the shot of her holding on to Emma because she refuses to let her go again. Like, which makes what happens in the next season a little heartbreaking, but it is what it is. We'll get there eventually.
Give it time. We'll get there.
We'll get there eventually. That'll be this summer for us.
Oh boy.
Yay. Fun summer. But it's interesting to kind of see nothing really happens in this episode. It's like my thoughts are like I write down the funny lines or I write down some thoughts. I did want to talk a little bit about, because I think I had said last season kind of how like when like David kind of has no memories of anything, kind of how like that kind of works, like that we'll see that again. So obviously with Belle, if she had a true curse persona, she would have reverted to that when she moved over the town line, obviously. And she doesn't. She goes into basically a fugue state of no memories whatsoever. So she has truth. She has no. So she doesn't really have a curse persona. I mean, she will because Regina's going to give her one in 219. But this is also why I don't get why people still want to argue with me about Gold being under the curse the whole time. Because if he didn't have a curse persona, if he wasn't cursed to be there, him losing his memories while crossing the town line wouldn't be a factor here. People who don't have like curse personas or memories to lose, basically to revert to something, like Emma and Henry, they weren't cursed. They can leave just fine. If he wasn't cursed to be there, he would then him worrying about losing his memories wouldn't be a factor.
Yeah,
it's another thing of like,
wouldn't he have started searching for Belle sooner too, knowing?
Yeah, if he knew that he could leave whenever he wanted to, he would have just he would have called in Emma's favor the second everything blew up in the beginning of the season.
He would have looked for everybody, Belle and Bay and everybody. He wouldn't have stayed where he was all that time, knowing he's in the land without magic, and not go and look for his son.
Exactly. I mean, he is the factor. Well, the Belle thing, he thought Belle was dead, so there's that. Regardless, he thought Belle was dead.
That's fair.
But Bay, yeah. I mean, well, the thing with Bay is so we are going to see next season, or not next week. I think I said earlier in the season that the Dark One doesn't always have his powers of foresight, or I think maybe we saw it last season at some point. So we're going to see next week where he gets his powers of foresight and the prophecy that the seer that he gets these powers from gives him. So he knows exactly what has to transpire in order for him to find his son. So even if he knew that he could leave, he still would have had to go. He still would have had to wait for certain things.
Okay, that makes sense.
So. Again, it's when you have the pieces of the puzzle and I have all the context. And next week's episode, despite it being a Rumple-heavy episode, is actually quite interesting.
With it being called Manhattan and with everything that's been set up so far, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen, honestly. like I said, I'm just really excited to see the interaction of this Bay. Also, oh wait, I'm Henry's grandfather. You had a baby with my son. What the fuck? Like, I cannot wait.
Well, that's why I find his affronted look when Emma calls him his father in the security line, and he's like, "Father." Like, I mean, leaving out the 300-year age gap, you are physically old enough to be her father, but also, like, you are her son's grandfather.
Which has got to be weird for him for living as long as he has, because when he lost Bay, Bay was still just a child. So in his mind, he's never reached past that, like, fatherhood point of, like, going into having a adult child. And so he's kind of stuck in his age without realizing it because of longevity, which I find so funny. And I actually do like that they kind of wrote that in, because why would he not feel old? Because immortality is an odd thing.
Because also, it's like, it adds on the aspect of during the curse, he probably was as a regular person and slept and did all those other things. As the Dark One, you don't sleep. So he's, I mean, with the exception of those 28 years where his whole mind was asleep, but like he got to like function as a regular human being. He was awake for 200 years. Like that's why, like
that's why it's crazy.
That's why, like, no, that really is like that's like you see his mind start to unravel a little bit. Like the darkness, like so I say he was the longest running Dark One, so like he really like he had the power for far longer than I think anyone was really ever supposed to.
Oh my!
So, but I did get a laugh at right. I did get a laugh at you have to put your shoes in. How terribly uncivilized. He's not wrong, and that is entirely why I have TSA pre-check.
That's why we all wear such comfy shoes to the airport.
Exactly. Like,
no one wants to have to take their shoes off.
No, it's. I'm with him. It is uncivilized. Take your shoes off, your belt off, take everything out of your bag. Like again, this is why I have TSA pre-check. I take off my jacket, I put it all in a bin, done.
I don't fly. I drive, where I can take my shoes off anyways.
That's true.
But at least it's in the privacy of my own car.
No, that's different. I don't take my shoes off in public if I don't have to. It's not
It's like,
doesn't matter where I am.
In some situations, it's understandable for like kids too. Like if they're running in grass at the park, I don't care.
Yeah.
Take your shoes off. It's grass. Anywhere else, if you're not wearing shoes in a grocery store, I'm concerned.
Nah, that's fair. People, yeah. I don't understand.
I don't either. Like, I also have sensory issues, so.
No, exactly. This line just tickled me, and it always does. When Anton says, "Let me talk to Emma," and Mary Margaret goes, "She's kind of out of town."
Yeah.
It gives me, I know him, he's a friend from work vibes.
Oh God, it does.
It really does. I guess one thing I can say again with this episode is for how little actually happens in it, it is funny. Like you got Regina and Hook just with their whole dynamic, and I'm sorry. Hooked Queen is such a good ship.
Yup.
Like, I am aware that they are basically the male and female versions of each other. Like, I get it, which is why I always figured they were the intended ship to start out with.
Okay, but imagine that in certain situations.
Well, what's really funny, there's a video, and I'll show it when we get to season 3, it's even funnier, because it was from the San Diego Comic-Con circuit for season 3, when they were talking about that chemistry, and they couldn't come up with the ship names, but then Lana starts yelling Hooker Queen. But then at one point, she's just like kind of like leaning back, and all of a sudden you see Colin, because they're standing in 2 rows, and Colin's just kind of like leaning around, just kind of like to like be close to her. She's like yelling Hooker Queen, and it's just really funny.
Oh my God.
There's so many good. Here's the thing: is like when we get to season 3, I know those San Diego Comic-Con panel and San Diego Comic-Con videos really, really well, because that was the first year that I really got into watching the videos. So I have a lot of fandom story times from that year. Season 3 is gonna have a lot of fun videos.
I honestly can't wait. Like, I can't wait to see more. Like, especially when I get to watch the bloopers from this season. Yeah. Knowing that we have Hook now, oh my God. I cannot wait.
I'm fairly certain this. I think I watched the season 7 blooper reel recently. Colin, I think, might be in every single blooper, or very close to every single blooper. Because this man, he got known quickly as like one of the jokesters on set. So like he likes to get people to laugh when it's their coverage and by doing weird things. There's one story which I would love the context for it, and we're never going to get it, but it's still funny anyway, there was one of the guest actors, it was around when All About That Bass came out, which, it had to have been after it, because apparently this year is the 10th anniversary of that song, so it was after that. It was after, this was like 2015, 2016. No, 2016.
Those numbers don't match in my brain.
was 2015. So it might have took that. Either way.
Sorry, when you say 2015 was like almost 10 years ago, it literally hurts.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about that because then we're talking about me being 30 and I don't like it. But I'm well aware you're already 30. I can still not like that I'm going to be 30 soon.
Join the club.
The actor hated that song and he found out about this very quickly. And so he would follow her around set just going, all about that bass, just to annoy her. And then the next day, she walks on set and I was like, oh, hi, how's it going? And then all of a sudden, a bunch of crew members just start going, all about that bass.
Oh my God.
Just because he started doing it. And I love those because it's just, again, and when you watch the bloopers, you'll really see this because Colin and Bobby have such a fun relationship that, like, it's them, it's Colin and Josh doing the weirdest stuff together. Like, truthfully, like, the bromance of Captain Charming is Josh and Colin. The writers just wrote it in.
Oh my goodness.
For no particular reason. So on that lovely tangent, what'd you rate this episode?
Oh yeah, we're supposed to talk about that, right?
We're supposed to talk about our scores.
We're supposed to do that. I think we completely forgot that we scored this.
Yeah, right.
I gave character and personal 7.
Okay.
And I gave plot 6. Well, I know that it puts a lot of things in motion and that it does a lot of things for the plot of the story. I was bored.
So this is a 20? Is that how math works?
Yes, that's how math works. It's a 20.
Just checking.
Just checking. Yes, that's how math works. It is a 20.
Oh, that's a very fair score.
For Tiny?
Yeah, for Tiny. I gave it an 8 for plot, mainly because I know how much this sets up from all angles. I know what's coming.
Oh, I bet. Oh my goodness.
And it's fun. It's fun to watch the foreshadowing in this way. It really is. It's a 7 for character, like we said. Nothing happens. Personal was a 6. So this gets, because again, it's just I truthfully, I could skip this episode.
Yeah, honestly.
So it gets a 21. So I'm only one number off of you. Like,
wow.
Not like this one is. It's fine. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. There's just also nothing particularly outstanding about it. Like, it's got a lot of funny one-liners. I did laugh when Ruby said that the nurses said that Belle was having wicked nightmares, and I'm like, they were really trying to make you remember that this is set in New England by having Ruby say wicked. Like, and Henry at the airport. Oh my God, Henry at the airport. This boy.
He's so happy.
For the next few episodes, his whole purpose is basically to ask about food.
Seriously?
Like, this was the Cinnabon, and then once they get into Manhattan, they're gonna delay things to get pizza and a hot dog. It's like
it sounds very accurate, though. In all honesty, with Kit.
No, it is very accurate to an 11-year-old, like leaving his hometown for the first time. Like, absolutely, the first thing he's gonna want to do is get a dirty water dog and get pizza from New York. But
kids are just they never stop eating.
Yeah, like
I can't leave my house without snacks.
But to be fair, that might have been too much frosting.
Yeah,
that Cinnabon had a lot. That cinnamon roll had a lot of frosting on it.
As a frosting person, I have to.
I like frosting. On that one.
I love frosting.
I like extra frosting. However, that might have been a little too much for me.
No, I'd eat it. I can't help it. It's Cinnabon. I mean, especially when you get it warm.
Oh no, God, okay, but like
a warm Cinnabon,
a real Cinnabon. Like, I don't know what prop food that was. It's probably like a piece of cardboard with frosting on it.
That was not Cinnabon.
That was because they were huge.
Oh wait, are they not huge? Like, we have really big Cinnabons here.
They're big. They're not that big.
They're big. I don't know. Really?
It was like 2 of them fit in that box.
Yeah,
that was like enough.
That's how it is.
That box. Maybe they're not that big up here. Because that box, I would say, easily would fit like a dozen.
Are they bigger in the South? I need to know.
I mean, they might be.
I remember them being pretty big. Honestly, they might be. Like, down here, we like our food. We eat lots of it.
I mean, I live in the center of bagels and pizza, so we also like food. Just different food.
Just different food. Yeah, exactly.
I stand by.
And if anybody needs just a laugh at the end of this, I'd apparently have never had a bagel.
No, you haven't.
Lauren calls them bread donuts.
That's what they are.
Then what is a bagel?
Not whatever that is.
But it's a bread and it's a donut.
That's the one thing. Actually, I was gonna say, you know what? We don't see them eat bagels, but we do. It's just not while they're in New York. They bring bagels with them back to Storybrooke, and I'm like, fair. And they get it from a decent place too, which is even funnier. They picked a legitimate place, like a recognizable place.
Okay. I didn't know there were legitimate bagel places.
They picked a recognizable place in New York City to take the bagels from. Like, we just see like the wrappers. But like, in my opinion, so again, bagels, like we've talked about on everything. Bagels are subjective, much like deli is subjective, much like all food is subjective at the end of the day. What I personally like, and I'm not a big fan of like toppings on the like everything bagels. Give me if a bagel is done well, plain is fine. I want a little bit of a crust, like I want it to kind of crackle a little bit, and I want it to be chewy. Like the bagel itself should be chewy.
I think then the closest I've had to your bagels, and don't think I'm crazy, is our Costco ones. The ones at the Costco bakery are very different than ones I get at like Aldi.
Yeah.
They're crispier on the outside. They have almost like a different type of texture on the outside, and they're definitely more airy and like chewy on the inside. So maybe I have actually had a bagel. Maybe.
Perhaps. Maybe.
I'll have to next time I go to Costco, I'll get the bagels and send pictures.
Sounds good. Well, because to be fair, even up here, like there are some places that I'm like, I eat it and I'm like, this is too sweet. Like, why is it sweet? I don't understand. Like, because it depends on like what if they do put like sugar in the dough, or they'll put like something in the syrup that they dip the bagel in so that it develops that crust. Like, you can put too much of that on a bagel and it will alter the flavor and the texture at the end of the day.
That people have made Greek yogurt bagels?
Why?
They do like Greek yogurt and a few other ingredients.
And yeah. Like the 2-ingredient like bread dough stuff. Yeah, I've seen those.
What do you consider that?
I consider that circular bread, basically. Circular bread. I don't really know what I've never had it. Because here's the thing is that's like just different proportions, but the same 2 ingredients. I've seen people turn that into biscuits. I've seen people turn that into pizza dough. All of those things require different ingredients.
It's
like,
great.
It's not
like
just bread, flour, and water.
Yeah, it's great if you want more protein. In all honesty.
Yeah, no, if you're making it yourself to each your own, and I'm never gonna yuck anyone else's yum, because I'm a bagel snob. I will admit this. But I am very much on like the far end of the spectrum when it comes to what people put on the bagels, because like up here, what you'll see as a traditional like bagel with the works is a bagel, cream cheese, lox, tomato, onion, and capers. I think that is far too much stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't do all of that, but I would do some of it. Like, I definitely love lox. Like cream cheese, lox, maybe some capers, no onion or tomato.
No. I am personally a plain bagel and cream cheese person. That's it. I will go into a scallion cream cheese territory if I'm feeling spicy.
I like sweet things. So I apparently eat, my lovely cinnamon and raisin bread.
I have nothing against cinnamon raisin bread, or like cinnamon. Like what I'll get. I
can't call it a donut, not donut, a bagel.
Yeah, the bagel
it's a bread donut. I can't say it's a bread donut. It's a bread donut. So.
I will admit there's a time and place for like the cinnamon raisin bagel.
They're so yummy.
It's people that put the same works on that though. I'm like, why?
I'm sorry, they do lox on cinnamon raisin?
People put the works on anything. There's a YouTube series. I wish I could find it, or maybe it was a TikTok series. They were trying these people's weirdest bagel combinations. One time, I think it was a blueberry bagel with like jalapeno cream cheese on it. I'm like, absolutely not.
Oh no.
Absolutely not. In my opinion, and I'm sorry to anyone who may be offended by this, it's my opinion, my podcast, I say what I want. Rainbow bagels with funfetti cream cheese is cake. Just go eat cake.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burgers Season 4, Episode 19, The Kids Run Away, and Episode 20, Gene It On. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to join our new book club, you can find the link with more details in our show notes.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.